How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to their video here at Scrub Games, and today we are back with another of our deck profiles. Go over the deck I took to look this last week's locals for a Friday from in-person locals, and for this one I took Qira. And once again, it's another one of my deck of the weeks. This is a deck that I've actually been enjoying and having fun with for the last week. So we're going to go ahead and look into it because I know there are some people who've been craving lists. I get more list requests than I do like for Star Wars, and I got for either the Dragon Ball games, which is kind of crazy, but I do like to put up the list I'm playing for the locals. But unfortunately, I can't get my opponent's deck list because, one, I'm not going to bother asking for it, and two, it's just the locals. It's not really much to look for lists. But for today, we're going to go over my list I took to locals being Qira. So before we get in the video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel greatly, and also you can help yourself out by clicking the notification bell, which will give you alerts to when my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a time that suits you best. So, with that out of the way, let's get into it and check out the video and check out what my Qira list is looking like. So, for the list, we're going for blue-green for Qira because a very good combination is one of the strongest aspect combinations for the Villainy side, because it pairs so well. Like the green and blue cards pair so well with it, and probably one of the best leaders to use for it at the moment is Qira. Now, Qira is one of them which, when it first came out, when it first dropped, I didn't really understand what the great benefits are, because it kind of like is quite an interesting one, but the benefits of it is actually quite great if you once you understand it and kind of know what the use of her is, because she's one of the leaders that has. Get back up again. She's one of the leaders that has a when deployed effect, which is very, very nice, and it helps you deal with your opponent's leaders a lot easier than most can do. And she is a leader that deploys not too early, quite decently early, not too early, but early enough. 5 resources, which is not too bad. It's like turn 4 onwards. And she does have 0 power and 8 health, so she does have no attack, but then has a lot of health. But while she has those stats there, it's actually different when you deploy her. Now we'll get into her deploy, but first we'll have a look on her on the leader side. So when she's in the leader area, her action requires you to pay 1 and tap herself. So meaning you got to play a resource behind, so behind on your curve, which isn't too bad. Like you do have some other leaders that do that, like Luke and Rey and stuff that do the same thing. But Qira is quite a nice, gets like a very good benefit from it, because what her effect is to deal 2 damage to a friendly unit, so 2 damage to something you control, and then give a shield token to that unit you damaged. Now this pairs very, very nice with Grit, and also offers a nice way to protect, because when you are damaging a unit, you are then giving it a shield to protect it, so you can at least make it so if your opponent's trying to clash into it, you're going to lose the shield instead, which can be very beneficial and very nice in certain situations, especially with Grit. And when she does deploy, she is one of those leaders that has a when deployed effect, and hers is, when deployed, heal all damage from each unit that is both yours and your opponent's, so you heal both your opponents and your units, but then you deal damage to each unit equal to half its remaining HP rounded down. So you heal everything and do half damage to it. So you can potentially heal more damage off than you do after that, or you can do more damage after you healed them. Depends. But it's a very nice way, because if your opponent deploys a leader, you can immediately deploy Qira, and now their leader is now taking half their health as damage. So now that way it's going to be easier to take out. And also you can potentially heal, like where you're shielding things with Qira before and you deploy her, you can potentially heal all the damage you've taken off and then use the shield, so when she's deployed, you basically heal your units and they're now fresh as a daisy. But most of the time you're going to be dropping it basically just to do like to throw a lot of damage and more use her, like use the deploy for Qira and tell your opponent's leader to do like damage to it and then finish it off. She's got some nice ways to kind of finish it off with like put more range or takedown and things like that, thanks to Qira. She also has Grit, so while she does have 0 power and 8 health, the more damage she takes, the stronger she gets, meaning every point of damage she takes can convert to power. So 1 damage would be 1 power, 7 damage would be 7 power. And while she does have those stats, when she comes down, she essentially makes herself a 4/4, because she affects herself as well, so when deployed she does damage to herself, meaning she take 4 damage, because that's half her health, and then have 4 power. So she can technically get 4/4, which means she's within range as well of takedown, which is bit of a shame. But then if you do attack into something that is got 3 power and take it out, you then take that 3 damage and convert yourself and make yourself as strong as possible at 7 power, which is pretty nice. So that is Qira. So that's the leader, so it gives us access to blue and black aspects. And for our base, we've gone for green because, once again, very good combination to go for with blue. And I was running ECL, so Edge Conversion Lab, because I thought because it's one of the strongest and best bases in the game, and very good combination when with the blue to kind of use that effect. But I was finding a lot of time I wasn't really using Entry First Lab. Like I wasn't using that much. I was like saving it and making use of it, but I was never getting a chance to either using it early to kind of force like a ramp or to force like a ambush to take something out, or you can use it with Qira to then ambush their leader, take it out with another unit to keep Qira out. But I wasn't using as much of it, so I decided rather than, if I'm not going to use that much of it or make much use of the base, might as well go for 30 health base, and I decided to go with Mazkanaz Castle because it's one of the green ones and I like the art of it. So I decided to change up from ELC to this because I feel it benefits me more how I'm going to play it than ELC provided. But as leader combinations, we have those aspects, so we don't we avoid the asset penalty on those aspects. And we're going to get into the decks. Remember, we go for the lead through the deck with the units, and then the upgrade, then the events and the upgrades after. So we go from the highest or lowest to the highest. So we start off with like some of our turn 1 plays. So the turn 1 plays we've got that can kind of benefit with Qira are Hydrobomb Forcer, and then everyone we can do is Salacious Crumb. So these are both 1-cost units, meaning that if you play them out, you then have an energy left open on your board. So you can use Qira's effect to give him do 2 damage to him and then give him a shield. And this works better for Hydrobomb Enforcer than it does Crumb, because Hydrobomb Enforcer is 1-cost 1/4, has grit, so any damage it takes converts to power. So it goes maximum as 4 with 3 damage. It goes to 4 power. But you'll see that with like those kind of good stats, does have a bounty. You might be thinking, if it's got a bounty, it's not that great because it means your opponent can like claim it, especially when it's damage and stuff. Your opponent can claim it and get the benefit. But the bounty's not too bad because all it is just draw a card. And while is pretty nice for your opponent, it's not the end of the world. It's not that game changing. You get an extra card, but then you're playing out a cheap unit that's putting in a lot of pressure because it comes down for 1. You take 2 damage from Qira's effect to gain a shield, but you have 3 power thanks to grit, and then you're attacking into, and your opponent's got to get through a shield and then take it out to do that. And if they do lose a shield, you can even do a little bit more damage to things like Crumb, some other cards we've got in the deck to kind of increase its power to go a little bit further and go to like even up to 4 power. So we got 3 of those because it's a very good turn 1 play, and we got Crumb because we only got 2 Crumb because it's unique. It's a one of the unique units, but it's a very nice one because it offers a nice little bit of heal and also a little bit of chip damage as well for the ground arena. Because it's a 1-cost 1/3, and as when played, he'll 1 damage to your base. You can play it out, and you can keep recycling it over and over again because it's got an action ability which requires you to tap it and return it to his owner's hand to then deal 1 damage to a ground unit. And do remember that you have to do a damage to a ground unit. So if your opponent doesn't have any ground units but you do, you have to deal 1 damage to one of your own units. Be careful with doing that. Now you can make some really good benefits off this, of like having it out to actually ping some damage on one of your units, like a super laser technician. You can use it to kind of trigger that if you want, which is quite cool. But you've also got a way to kind of like, well, if you don't have anything, you didn't time it properly, you can potentially do more damage to your units than you need to or want to. That can end up like costing you a little bit. But play 2 copies of it because then that way both of these are cards you can get off Vader as well, so you can get more benefits out of Vader. And Crumb is just a really nice one just to keep that a bit of feel. Like if you watch it in games, if you've tried it out yourself, you'll see how strong it is. Now we've got some other turn 1 plays, and these are ones that you can't really you can play turn 1, but you can't get the benefit with Qira to then gain the shield. You have to do that turn after. But we've got Pershing as one of them, first one. That's a very nice one, and this one's very good. It's a very good addition to the dark side of blue because it's a 2-cost with no power, so you don't have to it's not doing any damage. Your opponent gets attacking to it without worrying about anything, which is a shame. But it's got 5 health, so it's got a lot of bulk to it, and it's got a very nice effect because its effect is action, tap itself, and deal 1 damage to a friendly unit, either itself or another unit you control. It could be either a space or ground, and then you draw a card. So it's really nice to gain like more advantage to gain. If you can get that to turn 1, it's very good. If your opponent can't get rid of it, you then constantly deal damage. And you can even do some nice combinations like triggering Super Laser Technician to kind of ramp that straight away. Or even just make things like Hydrobomb Enforcer even stronger by doing a little bit of chip damage while drawing a card. Just power up. So very nice one. Run 3 copies of this because while it's unique, you kind of do want to see it as soon as possible because you can see it's turn 1. It's absolutely perfect to start off the game and kind of grind that advantage and out-resource your opponent. We've also got some space units as well with Inferno 4 and Patrol and V-Wing. Now, these are quite nice because Inferno Force is very good, very nice space unit, 2/3 for the cost of 2. Also has a very good effect when you play it or when it's defeated, where you get look at the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. and then you can either put any number of them on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then put the rest back on top. So you can kind of, if you see any cards you want on top, you can keep them on top, and put any you don't want on the bottom, or just fling them all to the bottom to kind of like organize your next draw, either it's know what you're drawing, or if you don't need them, get rid of them, so that way you can draw into 2 fresh cards. It might be better. And also you've got Patrol and Viewing. Now this is a 2-cost one, not the best statted, because it's just a 2-cost 1/1, but it allows you to fin for your deck and have something to play turn 1, which is just Patrol and Viewing. Basically just draw a card. When played, draw a card, which is very nice. Could be handy. And normally you always want to have something to play on turn 1 and even set this up. And even this could be just something you can then chip damage to some space units to help deal with certain things. So those are all our cards we can play turn 1. Now we got some cards we can play from early as turn 2. So first one we have is the Client. Client's a very nice one, and it's one that kind of helps you keep in the game, gives you that heal that blue is very, very good at. Because it's a 3-cost 2/5, so it's got a kind of same health as Pershing, just costs 1 more, and it also has 2 power, so if they attack into it, they're taking some damage back. And it also comes with shielding, so it already gains a shield for himself, which is quite nice. It also has an action ability, just like Pershing, but it's a little bit different what it wants to do. And the action ability is to tap it, choose a unit, and for this phase, it gains a bounty, and that bounty is heal 5 damage from your base. So it's a very nice one, because you get this out, and as long as you can keep it around, you're golden, because if your opponent's trying to like aggro you and do a lot of damage to you, you can start putting a bounty on when you put its units you want to take out, or that can definitely take out this turn. And then when you take it out, you claim that bounty and heal 5 damage to your base. So if they do 5 damage, you can just heal it all back out, thanks to the Client. And just like Pershing, we've got this at free because it's a very good card, and when you kind of want to see early, because when you can get out and establish it, you can just make it so you're like your opponent's gonna have a hard time trying to kill you. You have to do more damage than they would like to take you out. And it can also convert like attacks away from your base to itself, because your opponent might not want to have it dealt with and like have it on board and want to try to take it out. We've also got free Super Laser Technician. This is a kind of way to ramp, and this is kind of one benefit that you add for ELC, where you can use this to ambush it out using ELC to ambush it, attack into it, and then ramp straight away. So you can kind of get like deploy Qira as early as possible, or just ramp up your resources. You can play some bigger things quickly. But a nice thing you can do with this, if you get Pershing out turn 1, then you can use this as the perfect card to deal damage with Pershing or even Crumb, because you can just like play out Super Laser Technician, then use Pershing's effect or Crumb's effect to then deal damage to it, either draw a card with Pershing or then just to bounce Crumb back to hand if you play it turn 1. And then Super Laser Technician will trigger, put itself in the resource and activate itself. So there you have that resource there to then go maybe put 2 damage and a shield on something you played turn 1, maybe Pershing something out. So that could be quite nice. But then we got 3 of those because we want to see its maximum amount of ramp, so we can kind of get that early to ramp up as quickly and then start playing our bigger things quicker than our opponent can. So when we go to the other units, we've got our last 3-cost, and that is Cobvamp. And it's a really nice one because it keeps you with something on board. Because why isn't the best statted at 3-cost 3/2? Not the best stats. Can't like Puny with his 2 health, but still the decent amount of damage and not too bad of a cost. He does have a nice effect that keeps something on board, so you always have something there. Because its effect is when defeated, you search the top 10 cards of your deck for a card that costs 2 or less and discard it. And then for this phase, you may play that card from your discard pile for free. So any of the ones we've seen before that are 2 cost or less, so from Paladin Enforcer, Crumb, Pershing, Feather 4, Patrol Viewing, if Cobvamp is defeated, if you see any of those in the top 10, you can discard them and play them out for free at any point during this phase. So it means you can then lose Cobvamp, like trading with your opponent, and then you can bring it off Inferno 4 for free, or Patrol Viewing, or get a Pershing if you don't have one, or one of these 2 out as well, which is very, very nice. So actually keep something on board so you can keep the momentum there and keep having something to like either as fodder for affection might be playing against control, or just have something to keep attacking and like dealing with your opponent's board as and when it comes. And also last 3 cards, so we do have another 3-cost. I forgot about this one. This is a new edition I didn't have originally for Friday, but I've added it in because now it makes sense while some people were playing it and like for against certain decks that I was having a problem with, like with Tarkin. Because it's a 3-cost 3/2 space unit that has Sentinel, and it's beneficial because it has Sentinel, force your opponent to go into this rather than to your base, and it's a strong unit for cheap that allows you to deal with things like the TIE Phantom. I think it's a TIE Phantom, the yellow unit that can't be damaged, captured, or removed by effects from your opponent. So this is a nice way to kind of, the only way you can really deal with it is damage, and in the Tarkin deck, they normally get it out, start putting experience on with the Tarkins, that way it's too strong to take out by damage, and then you can't do anything with that effect, so you then struggle once it's established and powered up, unless you can bounce about the hand or attack it with a damage, which this deck can't do the bouncing, but can do the damage, then you're going to have a struggle with, which I kind of did. So we've got 2 copies of that, because then it's another thing you can get off Vader as well, and all these, apart from Patrol Viewing and Cobb Vamp, you can get out of Vader as well, so that's quite a nice little benefit there as well. So with the higher units, then we make a jump, well, not a bit of a jump, but a bit big of a jump to Long Pike. This is a really nice one, and I really like this one because it allows you to protect your units and protect your key units that you want to keep on. Because it's Long Pike, a 4 cost, 4/6, a pretty good stats for its cost. You can even smuggle it out, and it smuggles out for 5, so you can always resource it and then plan to smuggle it out if you have less, like, a lack of options and you get low in hand. You can use after some resource, so you can smuggle it out. And it's very nice because on attack, you can give a shield token to an enemy unit, so you have to if they have one. And if you do, give a shield token to a friendly unit. So usually what you're going to do is, if your opponent's got something, if you're not going in space and go aground, and your opponent's got like a small space unit you don't really care about, you can keep swinging, giving the space unit the shield, and give something you want the shield, so that way you can protect what you want, and keep doing that. If your opponent doesn't have a unit on play, then you can swing. Don't have to give a shield to your opponent unit because they don't have one, and can still give a shield to your unit because you have a unit to give a shield to. To do that, bearing in mind, we only got 2 copies of it because it's not something you want to always play or can always play. But you want stuff on board, and sometimes you want to play something else that you might have in your hand with a better option. But it's a nice one to have, and it's even nice because you can smuggle it out. Then we've got 1 copy of Dooku, so we've got some, like now we are jumping to the higher cost, 7, and with Dooku, it's a nice little bit of removal, plus being protected as well, because it's 7 cost, so it's quite expensive with 5/4, not the best stats to its cost, but pretty decent, and it comes as shielded, it comes in protected, and it's a nice bit of removal while also establishing something on board, because when played, you can defeat any unit with 4 or less remaining HP. So you do a bit of chip damage, something you then take out with Dooku, and then establish like on board, that is then protected, and even then if you lose a shield, you can always put shield back on with Qira, which is pretty cool. So you got 1 copy of that for like a tech option, and it makes an easy card you can side out. And then for our next 7 drops, we have both Vader and Maul, because they're very good units. They both have ambush, so they can come out and like control the board as soon as they're played, and they both offer some benefits because they have different stats and different effects. So they both have ambush, they both got 7, but then that's where it kind of ends outside of being a force unit and being the same aspects. Because we got Vader, who was a 5/7, so a bit weaker than Vader and Maul, but then a bit more bulk to him. But when he's played, you can look at the top 10 cards of your deck and play out any number of Villainy units for free that have a combined cost of 3 or less. So that means you can get out 3 Hydroban Enforcer, or a Crumb and 2 Hydroban Enforcers, or you can get a combination of Pershing or Verna 4 plus Hydroban Enforcer and a Crumb, or you can just get out the Client, Super Laser Tech, or a Black Sun Starfire. So you can get a good combination of things. We've got loads of targets for it. Hopefully you can hit the maximum benefit, get like multiple, or just even getting 1 big one. And establishing Vader, who's normally when he comes down takes something out, or at least does a good amount of damage to something as well. And then on the other end, we've got Maul, which is a little bit stronger at 7 power, so can easily take out Vader, where Vader can't take out Maul. But he does lack a little bit of health in having 6 health, so he's still got very good stats. Like, he looks like he should be a legendary, but he's only a rare, so that's one crazy thing. But yeah, 7 power and 6, and also not only does he have ambush, he has overwhelm. So if he attacks a unit and takes it out, any excess damage that exceeds the health of that unit goes to your opponent's base. You can pierce through, and he's got a nice thing to kind of protect him and make him like keep him around and be very unaffected by is on attack, which is when you attack, you can choose a never friendly underworld unit. So you haven't got many. You've got Hydroman Enforcer, Crumb, Black Sun Starfighter, Long Pike. You also have, that's it, and himself, and also Qira. But essentially, you choose them, choose never underworld unit, and if you do, all combat damage he would take gets dealt to the chosen unit instead for that attack. So you can potentially bring him down and he'll take any damage back, put on something else. They probably either going to die or even shielded from Qira. And then, yeah, he's all protected. And even then put shields on later on. Remember, these are all units you can put shields on as well with Qira, which is another big benefit, putting shields on your big units. So to protect you from damage, potentially being like attacked into and taken out. by having that shield on them. And we play 3 of each of these two because it's just that great. So we want to play maximum copies. So when we get to late game, we can start chucking them out. Even if they are unique, you can always crash them. So if they've taken damage already, crash them and take out so they can also take out themselves, and then play a new one on top of that. Now we go a little bit higher on the units because now we have 2 Avenger and also 1 copy of Devastator. Now I think these might be the last of the units now because they're getting to like the big high one and not many units that can be higher than these, but these are space units that kind of like control and devastate the space arena when we get to late game, kind of like overwhelm opponent with overwhelming force. And we have the 9 cost Avenger and 10 cost Devastator. Now we have only 2 Avenger because kind of clog, and while it is a very good card, like you don't want to see too many of them early. You want to see them more in the late game where you can actually play them. So we've got 2 to kind of avoid that. And we've got 1 Devastator, so the same thing to avoid that. Because it's a very nice card. When it comes down, it's usually, unless your opponent can take it out, it's going to be hard to remove this card. Because Avenger is a 9 cost 8/8, so pretty good stats. And when it's played or when it attacks, an opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control and defeat that unit. So basically, when it's played or when it attacks, your opponent has to kill off one of the cards that isn't their leader, which is very nice. So it means the longer it stays out, the more benefit it is just clearing your opponent's board without needing to worry about attacking them or using effect to deal with them. It'll do it itself. And then you've got Devastator, which is a 10 cost 10/10, so very good stats, and has Sentinel as well, so your opponent has to go through it if they want to go through the space side. And has Overwhelm as well, so any damage it does to a unit that exceeds the health of it when it defeats one, gives the opponent space. So very nice with piercing damage there. And it's got a very nice effect when played. You can deal damage to a unit that you can, deal damage to any unit equal to the number of resources you control. So usually that's going to be 10 at the minimum most of the time. And then, but you can do even more, and that's normally going to be enough to take out something. So your opponent plays out the leader, or they play it late, or you get this out early because you ramped enough. You're going to slam this down and just do 10 damage to a unit, and not something always going to take something out. There's not many things that's going to survive 10 damage from a Devastator. But these are normally things you're going to start dropping later in the game to kind of control the board and just basically overwhelm your opponent. And it's hard to take them out in the space race because the space arena is not where most battles are occurred. It's mainly in the ground arena. So once you get a later game, you normally conquer it by dropping these. And now we should go into the events as well. So first one we've got is Power of the Dark Side, being a nice little removal. Very nice one that can even take out leaders because it's just like Avenger. Makes your opponent choose one of the units and defeat it. But just like with Avenger, the problem with these 2 cards is that the wider your opponent's board is, so the more cards they have out in play, the less beneficial these are. Because when they've got less units, they got less options, and normally you're going to have to take out something they don't want to take out. Whereas they got more cards on board, they got more options, meaning it's less impactful because they can use the weakest thing that you don't care about and sacrifice that instead. So 3 copies is a very good card. And it's nice about removal, especially when you're early to kind of keep in the game and kind of hold your opponent off. And then we've got 3 copies of resupply to kind of get that ramp as well. So not only do we have Super Laser Technician, which is easy to ramp the trigger, we also got resupply as well to kind of ramp up so you can drop some of these big units as quickly as possible, as early as possible, to kind of overwhelm our opponent. Then we've got 2 copies of Takedown and 2 copies of Follow the Dragons. We've got some nice removal events as well to help take out things. Like usually you can just take out things by attacking, just using Qira as well. Like Qira is the best way to deal with leader. That's why we don't have Rivals 4 in the deck, so spoilers for there. But we got these events as well to help take out some units that because you're going to only get 1 deploy of Qira, and you can use that normally for the leader. But we've got Takedown and Follow Dragon to help control the board with some units if you don't have if you don't get to the point where you can Vader or mold, like ambush them straight away or drop some big space units. You got these ways to deal them if you don't see them or don't get to a point where you can drop them. Because Takedown takes out anything with 4 or less remaining HP. 5 or less remaining HP, which only Qira can get them with range, which is quite cool. And if Fellow Dragon takes out any non-leader unit that's a 5 or more power, so anything that's very powerful on your board that's not a leader, you can take it out with this. And then so you got Takedown, it's only for Qira to take out using Qira as a combo to take out leaders that weaken them if they're not already weak, then take them out. And then Follow Dragons for non-leaders. Now for the other cards we have here, we have 3 copies of Vigilance as a way to kind of like kill yourself a little bit and get some nice benefits. Like you can put a shield on Qira, which is quite cool. So you can use this to either mill 6 cards on your opponent's deck. So you like very nice for against hard control. Make him. It's going to come down to the along with a lot of control. It's going to come down to all about like milling your opponent out with the hard control deck. So you got this as a way to kind of deter them. And you got the heal 5 damage from your base, so get extra heal there. And defeating anything with 3 or less remaining HP, which you can kind of do with Qira. and then also give a shield token give a shield token to a card. So you can use this on you deploy Qira, and then use the option to defeat something with 3 or less HP, and then give Qira a shield so she's protected there as well. So some very nice options, and you will create a cast penalty with this one because where it's a double blue, you only have one blue aspect on Qira and not anything else because you've got the one aspect, blue aspect, it covers one of them. Because you don't have the second one, you have to pay the SP penalty of extra 2, so this is going to cost you 6 in there. So be careful, but it's a very nice card to have for some good benefits. Now, the other cards we have are Overwhelming Barrage, so it's a card we have at 3 as well, and it's a very nice because what is a high costing one at 5? It offers you like a very good benefit because it not only boosts up any one of your units you choose by giving it an extra 2 power and 2 health, but it also allows you then to have that card you chose that give you benefits to have it deal damage equal to its power divided as you choose among any odd number of units on the board. So it means if you give it to Mole, you give an extra 2 power, so 2 power and 2 health, so you then goes from a 7-6 to a 9-8, and then has 9 power, so you can divide 9 damage as you choose among the board, which is very, very nice. I've even done it before, I've done it to a Devastator, put Overrun Barrage on my Devastator, and then could put 12 damage how I want across my opponent's board, which is going to kill out most things or even wipe their entire board, which is crazy. So we've got 3 copies of that because it's such a great card. And then the last card we've got is 2 copies of Palpatine in return. Now, you might be thinking that's why we put Dooku in, because it's an error force unit you can kind of bring out this, but then that's not the only benefit. And we only play 2 Palpatines return because it's one of those cards you can kind of charge if you see it early, but if you see it later in the game, it can kind of benefit you depending on what's in your discard. Because as you start like playing Vaders and Moles and stuff like that, like using them, or even play out like Avengers and Devastator and your opponent takes them out, you can kind of get them back. Because what is a card that's a Force card, and also has more of a benefit if the unit you choose is the Force unit, it still can be used on anything. Because the effect is a 6 cost event and allows you to play any unit from your discard pile, and it costs 6 less. So you pay out any card from your discard pile or any unit from your discard pile, but it costs 6 less. So if it's 6 or less, you play it for free. But if it costs more, you have to pay extra resources on top to play it out. But if it's a Force unit, you get to play it. It costs 8 less, which means if you're using this card to bring out anything from High Level Force to Long Pike, you can play it out for free. If you're choosing any Dooku, Vader, or Maul, they cost 8 less, so you come out for free. So basically, anything from Maul to High Level Enforcer comes out for free from the discard, because these are Force units, and then the other ones are less than 6, so they come out for free. But not only that, you can also use them to bring out Avenger and Devastator. So the nice thing about this, if you bring out Devastator and like take out your opponent's card, and your opponent takes it out, but you want to bring it back out again, to kind of like hold them off in the space arena, and also establish like take out something again, you can use Palpatine's Return. It costs 6 less, but if you've got 10 resources to play out Devastator, you can do it again, because you then just do Palpatine's Return, pay an extra 4, as well as pay 6 for this, and then an extra 4 on top, to bring Devastator back out, establish it back on the board, and trigger its one play again. So remember, Palpatine's Return, it's normally used probably to grab out the Force units. You can use it to grab anything, even big space units like Avenger and Devastator, as long as you can pay the cost, which normally if you've played them once and they've been defeated, you can play them again using this. It gives you extra copies of some of these cards because you can bring them out from the discard after using them. So that's why like kind of having 1 copy of Devastator doesn't matter, because if it goes to the discard, you can bring it back play it back from the discard pile using Palpatine's Return. Now this isn't bigger than what we normally have for our decks. It's a 54 card deck, but it's not too bad, because you are like kind of lowering the consistency with having not having 50 cards in. It makes sense because it's a very controlling game, or controlling deck. It's more like a soft control. It's like more like controlling the board, and then get to the late game where you can just start overwhelm your opponent with all the advantage you got. But it doesn't really cut too much in deck, because there's so many options and so many things that kind of work together. It's so much like draw power from like Pershing and stuff like that. It's not like having more than 50 cards isn't too bad for it. And now what we're going to do is go into the side deck, and so we've got, remember, side deck is always down the personal preference, where it could be from what you're expecting to go at, expecting to face against at a big tournament, a local tournament, or just having friendly fun. So we're going to check out that now. So this is the side deck we've got. So we've got six different cards in here, and these are the cards that I've got in the side deck that I work on. Now I did have a side deck when I went to my locals, but since testing my locals and like having a bit of experience testing with some of the decks, and kind of seeing what there are some flaws in my list where, so what things I was kind of missing or things I can have more benefit of, I've kind of changed up a little bit than what I originally had. So first off, we got 2 copies of Colonel Lion. I had this in my list from Friday. And it's a very nice one, especially with if you combine it with Crumb, you can heal a load of damage because Colonel Lion literally is a 2-cost 2/3. Where when you play a command unit, even including itself, it doesn't say it on the hyperspace one, but including itself, you heal 1 damage for your base. So you play himself out, heal 1 damage for your base. Now, if you then play a Crumb afterwards, Crumb only costs 1, comes out, Crumb heal 1, and Qira heal 1. And where Crumb can keep like tapping itself, deal damage to a unit on the ground, put it back to your hand, and kind of play it out again. You can keep using that to kind of heal damage from your base. I mean, you can get a good amount of healing for cheap, which is very, very cool. So this is a very nice one. I've normally side this in for if I'm going against aggro. I play this out to kind of heal the damage. So while my Qira damage, they're trying to take out my stuff, I can take out their stuff while also healing to kind of keep it in the game. So that way it gets to a point where I'm in a position where I can start playing my big things, controlling the game better, while they're then struggling to keep up. We've also got 1 copy of Devastator, so an extra copy of Devastator because it's such a great card. And just the fact that it's a Sentinel in the Space Arena means you have to go through this huge ass unit just to get to your base. It's very nice. It means you have to worry when it gets to the late game. You can like use its effect to take out something in the ground arena, and then have himself to stand in the way of anything like a blockade. They kind of stop them from going in the Space Arena. So extra copy of that coming in against more control decks or like certain decks as well. Also got 2 copies of Traitors. Now you might be noticing that we're going to the upgrades to the events. Well, we don't have Relentless. Now, I did have Relentless, but I found that doesn't find that much of a purpose, especially when we got Avenger and we've got Devastator. It doesn't make much of a benefit when it comes to Relentless. Like, it's not as great as in the first set, where it was very nice against the hard control decks to kind of hold them off, make them like have a hard time dealing with it. Now, your opponent does drop that, you can always then, as long as you ramped or even then without that, just drop a Avenger and Devastator to then take out the Relentless, or even then swing into it if you're having trouble with it. But instead, I've got 2 Traitors because I found I was having trouble with the Tarkin Yellow deck, and also this deck might have a bit of trouble against aggro. So this is a nice way to kind of, if your opponent then is playing out small units, to grab hold of them and use them to kind of help deal with their use their units to deal with their board, or even take units they've been powering up and just have control of them for yours. Now they will have to kind of get rid of this to get it back, or deal with the unit itself. But like if you're against Tarkin, they start powering up their space unit that is kind of removed outside of battle or bouncing. Then you can take control of it and just basically use it against them, which is very, very nice. So you got 2 copies of this to help with those kind of decks. We also got 1 copy of Emperor's Legion. Now, if you do have a deck where you got like Super Laser Blast, stuff like that, taking out units, this is a nice way to kind of, if you got a board and your opponent's a board, you can trade your board into your opponent's board and then grab all his units back just for 2 using Emperor's Legion. So we got that for against decks like in the Mirror, where they're taking out your units while you're taking out theirs, and you can get your units back to kind of play them again. Then we've got 2 copies of Make an Opening and Everything. Once again, this is more for just Tarkin Yellow because it's that's one of those decks where if you play against it, you need the kind of things to do with it because you don't and you're unprepared, you'll have a hard time. So we've got 2 copies of this because this is a great way for as soon as they play it, it can't be damaged by effects, it can't be captured by effects, or it can't be defeated by defeated by effects. You can at least use this to minus its stats, which is 2/2 down to 0, so it dies by game mechanics, which is a great way, and also heal 2 damage to your base. So we've got 2 copies of that. And last one we've got is 2 Super Laser Blasts. So if you're going against hard control decks, if you're going or in a Mirror hard control decks, you can use this to kind of take out boards or clear boards, which is just very beneficial. You don't really need to main it in this kind of deck because you're not a hard control deck, but you can slide it to help deal with big boards that your opponent makes if you can get to the late game. So that is the side deck. So remember, the side deck is personal choice. So if you can either go with this how it is there, or you can amend it however you like. Remember, it's best to suit you because it's more of a personal thing in the side deck. But this is the deck that I've gone for. Now this is including all changes I've put in from testing it, and that's how I like it. You can still go for ELC, because I found that I was never really making use of it. Like I did have Gideon in there as well to make use of it, but I found that most of the time I wasn't seeing Gideon, or like either by resourcing or not seeing it, and he was the main reason of me using ELC. So kind of cut that out to kind of, if cutting out ELC, I cut that out as well. So you kind of make changes to put that back in if you want to, but I found it wasn't as useful as it used to be. But that's it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And remember, if you have any comments or suggestions, feel free to comment below. If you have any questions, comment below and answer as best I can. Now remember, this is the deck I took to locals, so when the locals games come up the rest of this week, you then have the deck list to show what my side and Qira, but I won't have my opponent's list because I don't generally ask for my opponent's list just to put them up and do like cover as well. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching and enjoy the next one. Bye for now.
Like a boss.